Well, what's up? Hey, hello, everyone. So, we are here today going to be talking about Survivor Season 35, the premiere episode of Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers. What a mouthful to say. I am super excited. We have waited like 3-4 months in hiatus for the Survivor premiere. So, my name is Rachel.
And I'm Alyssa, and one of the things Rachel and I were talking about as we shot the breeze, the past tense of shoot the breeze, before we started broadcasting was how short this episode felt, because we're used to having like 90-minute premieres or 2-hour premieres, and then it was only 60 minutes. So we'll talk about that a bit when we get to the boot for this episode, I think. But before we started the podcast, Rachel had something special that she wanted to do, so she's going to talk about that.
So yeah, last podcast Alyssa and I did like Sunday, Monday. I asked you guys if I should buy a buff. No one replied, but so I bought a buff and we'll unbox it on camera, I guess, because we're lame. But yeah, basically, I don't know. I've been wanting one recently, but they've always been like sold out online. And so I got season 33, Millennials versus Gen X, the Merge Tribe. So the season Adam won, and I felt like this was sort of significant because we met Adam and everything like that. So that's why I bought this one. Yeah, Alyssa, that missed phone call that one day that you had.
This is why you shouldn't do homework, kids. You'll miss phone calls with Survivor players.
Yes, so yay! Oh shit, not that. Here it is. It's sort of anticlimactic, but I don't know. It'd be a cute Halloween costume, I think, if you like wore it, which we'll see. I think that's so weird, but yeah. Millennials versus Gen X, the Merge Drive. How cute. $50 for a piece of fabric. We love it.
It's still crazy, but anyways, now that we've got that out of the way, we're going to start with our premiere discussion. And so the premiere started with everyone on a boat and Jeff Probst talking to everyone. And I always think it's so funny when he like addresses people by like what they're wearing and asks them their names, because like obviously he knows their names, but I think it's really funny how they like force that little bit of exposition in there.
Yeah, he's like, oh, woman in the blah, 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 man in the cowboy hat. And it's like, you've been through months and months of casting and everything. And so you technically know, like, their name and everything. But, yeah, I think it's really interesting. I don't really follow Edgic or anything. Alyssa, are you still following Edgic?
I did last season, but it just disappointed me. Not like it was bad, but as in like it told me things I did not want to know. So I probably won't be following Edgic, but if that changes, I will let you guys know.
Yeah, I don't know. Edgic just sort of like confuses me. There's too many acronyms. But yeah, I think it's like really interesting just to like see and notice who gets more screen time and stuff like that. So for the boat, Jeff, like Alyssa was saying, like talk to people. So Ben got a talking like little blurb about being a Marine, being on the Heroes, and then Chrissy got a confessional during this time. So she didn't talk on the boat to everyone, but she talked like in private. For the Healers, we saw Cole talk and Mike talk. So Cole talked about being a wilderness therapy guide, living. Yeah, and I think it was weird. My friend Corey, who was on the podcast, I think, he was saying how Cole is actually apparently rich, even though he is living out of his car, which I think is like interesting. But yeah, Mike talked and got a confessional about being a sex doctor. And I don't know, Mike got like a lot of like confessionals, I feel like, and he got a lot of screen time this episode.
I think it's interesting just because we were talking about how he's kind of the David character of this season. And I'm just like, I'm not ready for Mike to be like a main character.
Yeah, see, that's what I feel like we're all thinking. We're like, oh, Mike reminds us of this, but he's like the secondhand knockoff version. But I don't know, Mike's getting a lot of screen time, which I don't know. I think we'll see how that plays out when we talk about like the healers dynamics. But for hustlers, Allie got a talking segment, and she's a personal assistant. And then Ryan, the turtleneck guy, gets a confessional. And I don't know. I feel like Ryan this season is basically going to become like a Cochrane kind of thing, where Ryan gets a ton of screen time. He gets all of these like sort of cute one-liner lines where he's like, oh, like no one has ever wanted to get in my pit, or like, oh, I've never had an advantage in my life before, kind of like stupid little like quirky thing. And like when he says stuff like that, I'm just like, I don't know.
I feel like it was like funny and amusing, like the first person who did it, but then as more people began to like take that as a strategy, it started being like, it stopped being funny and started being like just annoying, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know, because I feel like if it's like your legit personality and you like say cute, funny, quirky things like that, like fine. But I feel like some people are honestly like trying too hard to become like the person that basically becomes famous off of Survivor, like person who's trying to get all the screen time person. So I don't know about Ryan. I feel like he's going to get a lot of screen time this season, and I don't really know if I want to be watching the Ryan show.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, he seems to be the kind of person who knows that Survivor is a place to become like a TV personality. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Oh. So yeah, I think yeah, the boat talk was interesting. I've seen that scene like 3 or 4 times now because they like posted it beforehand and then rewatching the episode and stuff like that. So then they go into the boat challenge, and I don't know. I feel like this boat challenge was like less amusing or less interesting than usual, because I feel like usually like I'm a huge like fan of these challenges right off the bat, like get everyone moving, get everyone like fighting for some goal, like to get Flint and whatnot. But I feel like this boat challenge, it was just like very anticlimactic as well. Like everyone was just throwing shit off the boat. It was very unorganized, and like it wasn't that interesting.
Yeah, I feel like it would have been more interesting if like, I don't even know what would have made it more interesting. Like, by the time they all got into the boats, like you couldn't really keep track of who got what or like what was happening there. And I feel like one of the things was they've had it before where like in Game Changers, people could choose to like risk jumping off the boat to get something else that was good for them. Whereas like it was kind of just throw all your shit off the side and hope that one of your tribe members gets it.
Yeah, because like people weren't even like throwing things to like their team members. They just like threw fruit off the boat, and like when you see them paddling away, there's like a ton of stuff still left in the water and everything like that. And I don't know. I feel like boat challenges, like they are super cool and super fun to watch at the beginning, but I do think they do need that other aspect of like swim to this thing to win like extra food or whatever for your tribe, versus like, so that starts a new competition. Or I feel like in like heroes versus villains, I would love to see like an immunity challenge or like challenge to get Flint or fire at the beginning, like when they did sort of the wrestling challenges. I think those are always like super fun to watch as well. So I would like want to see something like that, I feel like.
Yeah, I want to see something that like gives you more of an insight into the players and like who they are, as opposed to just random shit, pretty much.
Yeah, so I mean, the Hustlers were a hot mess on this. So that was the Red Tribe. They were like freaking boating into the middle of nowhere. I was like, okay. But I don't know. I think it was funny. Rourke was like, no way am I the lightest, LMAO. And they were like, oh, you're the lightest, so we're going to lift you up to get the fire. And I don't know. Healer Tribe and Heroes are super close. And I feel like Healers, they won this boat challenge and the immunity challenge. So I feel like they maybe could be the strongest like physically at this beginning part of the game, like while they're still in the healers tribe. So I think it'd be interesting to see if they like can continue their winning streak, Because I feel like we've mentioned it before, we often see like one of these tribes out of the three is like a hot mess, and then they like lose every challenge, and then they like basically get demolished.
Yeah, I feel like it's really hard to have a losing streak when there are 3 tribes, though, because it's like, it's not like you have to get in first to win. You just have to not lose. So I struggle to see how, like, there can be a losing streak, but one tribe always seems to manage it.
Yeah, so I'm like, we'll see, because I feel like in the immunity challenge, heroes and hustlers were very close, like at the end together. So it's technically not like one tribe got blown out of the water or anything. So I think it'll be interesting to see in like the future and other challenges how this plays out.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see too, like what someone being voted off does, because like sometimes someone is voted off and you're like, oh, they were totally the weakest link, and like it can improve a tribe's performance not to have them like pulling the rest of them down. But
Yeah, so yeah, healers win, and heroes are second place. I don't this was also like, I don't know, the boat challenge just, I felt like wasn't that interesting. It like happened so fast, and I was watching live stream before my midterm because I was like, ha ha ha, it's survivor time. And like it cut out, and like 3 minutes later when I got back on the stream, like the challenge was over. So I was like, okay, guess I missed it. And then I rewatched it later, like during the normal time, and then it was like I didn't miss that, I didn't miss much. Like it wasn't that interesting.
yeah, I feel like this whole thing was just kind of subpar, which I guess means there's like only, you can only go up from here. So
Uh, for a premiere episode, that's not good. Especially only one that's 42 minutes versus our 90 minutes. I was so bummed out. But alas. So
yeah.
then we see the tribes, they like split into their 3 tribes. So we'll talk a little bit about dynamics, and then we'll go into like the secret advantage, and then the immunity challenge, and then tied votes kind of thing. So healer dynamics, we see like that he wanted these 3 females on the tribe, and I sort of agree. I feel like healers have 3 strong females. Like Jessica does bodybuilding, Desi like is super buff, like and everything, and like Rourke I feel like can hold her own, and Rourke gets like hella confessionals, which is something to note, I feel like, and I feel like a lot of people are picking Rourke as their winner pick this season.
Yeah, I feel like Rourke could go far in this game, but like I feel like she might be one of those people that we as an audience like, but the other tribes don't like. Or the
Yeah.
other players don't like.
Yeah, I could feel it. I don't know. Like just from like seeing her, I guess, I like she didn't seem like someone who stood out maybe like in preseason stuff, but I mean, you never know. It could be dark horse coming in. But I feel like, I don't know, I feel like maybe I need to change my winner pick, because Joe was literally so cocky already, and he's like, I'm probably the most strategic one out here, like they're all my victims right now. And I'm like, dude, like chill the fuck out. Like I feel like I was just annoyed this whole premiere episode because everyone was so cocky already. Joe is hella cocky, like Ashley, JP, and Alan, and that whole situation. I was like, why is everyone playing so hard on the first day?
Yeah, I feel like sometimes playing hard is a thing you want to see, but like this just seemed like excessive.
Yeah, and like so Mike goes looking for the idol, and then Joe sort of basically bullies him, I guess, in a way that I was like, this isn't good. I feel like Joe's getting like a very sort of negative edit already, which isn't isn't good for your long lasting in the game. And I feel like this also makes it so Mike becomes like the hero, like I'm the smaller male, blah blah blah, like I'm looking for the idol for my family, like my son did this or said this, and like I really want to do it for them, whereas Joe is like the person bringing Mike down, I guess. And so I think it'll be interesting to see how like Joe, Mike, their like versus thing plays out, because I feel like if healers go to tribal council, it might be one of them to go. And I feel like they'd probably vote Joe out because I feel like he'd be the bigger threat over Mike.
Yeah, and I feel like Joe also, like, if Mike could spin it and be like, oh yeah, Joe's totally crazy, because, like, to be honest, he seemed like a little crazy, it would be like, I think that Joe is someone who could be very easy to spin, and then also, like, you might be able to bring up, like, a probation officer isn't really a healer, depending on, like, your view on what a probation officer does, so.
Yeah, and I think that could come to head, I guess, in a tribal council if they go. I also feel like in the preview for next week, we see Jessica and Cole maybe having a showmance, and I'm just like, please don't. Like, I don't want to see showmances on the show, but I think if they become like a power couple per se, but I feel like power couples don't really do like showmances. I think power couple is like different from a showmance.
Yeah, I feel like a power couple focuses on what being with the other person can do for your strategy and, like, your game, but a showman's just is more like the emotional, touchy-feely side.
Yeah, like they want something on an island for 39 days because they won't get anything else. But I mean, I don't know. I think we'll see how that plays out as well. I really hope it's not like an annoying showmance. Like, I don't want to watch that.
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah,
feel
so I
like,
think,
yeah. Showmances are also kind of passe.
what does that mean?
Like, done, over with. They should be outlawed.
Ah, I see. So yeah, I mean, that's like the healers tribe. I think moving on to heroes, I feel like Ashley got a lot of the screen time. She's basically narrating the whole heroes tribe, which I was like, huh, I mean, that's super interesting. I feel like that means like Ashley can go far in this game because she's getting so much screen time, or I felt like it's like she's first boot, because I thought, like Alyssa and I were saying, with an only 42-minute episode, I was sort of surprised that Katrina went home first, considering she only got one confessional this entire fucking premiere. So I was like, that's super anticlimactic also. Like, no like casual fan knows who this girl is on the season. She gets one confessional and it's basically like, I'm an Olympian, and then she gets voted off. Like, you can't give the person who's first boot of season 35 more screen time so then people feel more invested in the show. Like, I don't know.
I feel like it reminded me kind of Lucy's boot in Millennials versus Gen X, because we, like, literally never saw her. And so, I don't know. I feel like I definitely, if I was one of the editors, would have, like, put in more of Katrina, but they also seem to have been, like, the editing on Survivor has not been as good, I feel like, lately.
Yeah, because I feel like Katrina's whole like time on the show, or like screen time she got this episode, was all through Chrissy's eyes. It was like, oh, Chrissy wants to align with me, or like, I need to align with Chrissy, and then Chrissy is like, yes, I need to stay, like, I want to work with blah blah blah, like, I got this advantage, like, I might or might not use it for me, and like, they're in an alliance. So I feel like Heroes Tribe, I was like, meh. There's like so many alliances already forming, and like it was the core four with JP, Ashley, Alan, and Ben, and then Alan like legit goes crazy on them, and like Malcolm posted a really interesting article about like how to like train and how to eat before going on Survivor, and he was basically saying that like these pro athletes who are usually like eating like thousands and thousands of calories a day, when they go on to Survivor and they're eating like so much less than they're used to, they basically like something breaks and then they basically go crazy. So I think that was super interesting because I read that article before the season aired. So then when Alan, who is a ex-NFL player, like legit loses his mind on the episode. I was like, wow, because I feel like in the past with like Cliff and like Garrett and stuff like that, you definitely see like the lack of food.
Well, it's because muscle burns more calories at rest than fat does. So, like, these guys who are like 250 pounds of pure muscle, like, they're burning so many more calories even just at rest than normal people are. So, it's like they need to consume more calories just to sit around doing nothing. And so, it's like while muscle mass can help you in challenges, it can also like severely hinder you as far as like being able to keep up with like your caloric needs.
Yeah, and I feel like it's interesting because Alan, even in his like preseason stuff, was like, food is going to be like my biggest downfall because he's like not used to eating nothing versus like a super athlete diet. So I think like that's just something super interesting to like talk about.
Yeah, and I feel like also the composition of diets changed on Survivor because like athletes eat a lot of protein, obviously, to like keep up that muscle mass. Whereas on Survivor, like you don't really get a lot of protein. You get more like fiber and carbs and stuff. Mostly fiber though, because their main food source is coconut and fruits. But
Yeah, so I think that, and then like the whole JP Idol thing, I don't know. I feel like Ashley said it well in one of her confessionals. I think basically like even though he is super strong, it might be more of a liability to keep him on the team than to like vote him out. So
yeah, and I feel like it's one of those things where you don't want to rely on just one aspect of the game. Like, you don't want to just be the survivalist because people can make up for that.
yeah, as we see, Ozzy never winning. But yeah, so I think going on to the Hustlers, Patrick, he very much reminds me of maybe like a Fabio. He's like, oh, should I eat this bug? And then the preview for next week, he's like jumping around, like getting himself bit by shit. And so, like, I don't know about Patrick now. I thought he would do very well in the game, but it seems like he's like a.
Yeah, he just, like you said, he just seems kind of like, this is like kind of a bad comparison to make, but like Mike Holloway at the beginning of his season was just like, oh yeah, I'll totally eat a scorpion, and then ends up like vomiting up the scorpion. But he won, which is why I say it might not be the best comparison, but
Yeah, maybe Patrick will win. We'll see. But yeah, I think on the Hustlers tribe, Ali got a lot of confessionals and Ryan. I feel like these two got the most confessionals on the Hustlers tribe, which is interesting because these were the two that got the like talking piece on the boat at the beginning of the episode. And so Ryan finds this secret advantage on the boat. It's basically an immunity super idol that is played after the votes are read, but there's a catch, and that it's only good for the first vote. And I think because it's only good for the first vote, that's what made me like the advantage. I feel like if it was just a plain like super immunity idol that Ryan could play whenever in the season, I wouldn't have liked it. But I feel like putting it on the first like premiere episode made it more interesting.
yeah, when I heard the word super idol, I was like ready to punch something. But
Yeah.
I agreed that it helped spice up the edit a little.
Yeah, owing a little, like Ryan telling Devin about the advantage. I thought that was interesting because I feel like Ryan sort of like had a man crush on Devin, like, oh, or an alliance crush. He was like, I really want to work with Devin. So then he tells him about the advantage, like to try to get Devin into his good side. And so I think that'd be like an interesting alliance because I feel like you typically when you see like the big dude, smaller dude alliance, it's always the big dude that like comes through and becomes the winner, like Steven Fishback and Jeremy and JT. So I feel like it'd be interesting because it seems like Ryan is the one trying to get like the big dude relationship.
I mean, I think it could be good because, like, if you play like Jeremy and you use your alliance member as a meat shield, that's a little different than just like letting them drag you to the end.
Yeah, I think, yeah. I don't know. Devin seems, I don't know, he seems like he doesn't have much substance, or he's like not the brightest.
Yeah,
I
he
like,
seems kind of like, what's up, bro? Like, he reminds me of Taylor.
yeah. And same with Cole, but I don't know. I'm just like, all these dudes sort of look the same.
Yeah, I find that to be a really large problem in Survivor. Like, obviously, I can tell the difference between them because, like, I actually like watched the show, but my roommate came in like halfway through the episode and she thought that like three people were the same guy, and I was like, no.
These are three different people.
Yeah.
Awkward. Yeah. So secret advantage, we can talk about it more at tribal council. So immunity challenge, they say that tied votes are allowed again, and I think that's interesting. So like last season, they didn't allow tied votes. So if like the vote was like 3-3 tied, you would either have to pick anonymous, you'd have to pick unanimously for one of those two people that tied and all agree, or the rest four would have to draw rocks and one would go home. So I think like I feel like they did the no tied votes thing because it was like an all returner season, like let's spice it up. So I feel like with like an all newbie season, having tied votes again, like I don't know, brings Survivor back to like its normal kind of gameplay.
Yeah, I feel like it was one of those things where like they knew that like forcing ties was such a large part of Survivor strategy that like it would be an extra challenge for people who already knew how to play the game, but for people who are newbies to the game, it's like an unnecessary extra challenge.
Yeah, because then I like it makes the game more interesting though, because then you like can't sort of be like the middleman. You sort of need to force something to happen at tribal council, or else you might like F yourself over and end up drawing a bad rock. So I feel like I don't know. I feel like if there is a tied vote this season, we can see sort of how it plays out. But I definitely feel like Survivor bringing it back to like original gameplay is good, because I feel like, especially last season, there's just too many advantages, too many twists, and it really like brought down the gameplay, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
And it like was super annoying when someone like Malcolm goes home by getting voted out by people not even on his tribe, kind of thing. So I feel
Yeah.
like I really enjoy watching normal Survivor gameplay.
Yeah, like I feel like the game should be based on strategic merit, and I feel like with too many advantages, it stops being about strategy and starts being more about luck. Like, are you lucky enough to have been one of the ones to find an idol or something like that?
Yeah, exactly. Or like, am I lucky enough to pick the right color rock? Or
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm like, okay, yeah. So I think community challenge, they had another one of those choice things, like pick the puzzle that you want. So healers got the last pick of like the puzzle maze, and then they end up winning first. And then I think that was super interesting also, because heroes got the first pick and then they end up getting last place. And so during the puzzle maze, it was really close between the heroes and the hustlers. And yeah, I don't know, sort of anticlimactic as well, because when it was like the heroes versus the hustlers at the end, I was sort of thinking, I was like, we have not seen enough of Red Tribe to like have them go to tribal council, because literally the only people on the Red Tribe that we know are Ryan and Allie, and I don't see them being first boot. So they're probably not going to lose this first immunity challenge. So I was like, that leaves it to the heroes, and so then heroes lost.
Yeah. And then Chrissy vomited, which was gross. But I feel like that was what actually got Chrissy to be given the super idol. Like Ryan might have like felt bad for her or thought that she was like going home because of that was like weakness. So
Yeah, that's actually super interesting, because if Ryan gave it to Katrina, a lot of things would have turned out differently. And so, yeah, I think that'd be like interesting to hear from Ryan, I guess, if like that was his deciding factor for wanting to vote or give the secret immunity idol to Chrissy, or if it was like from preseason stuff, seeing her, or if she like looks nice or like wants to align with her or something like that.
yeah. I'm sure that someone is going to interview him and ask him about that sometime.
Yeah, so I mean, Katrina literally has 0 confessionals so far, so I was like, huh, how's Katrina gonna go home when, like, we don't know anything about her? And, like, Ashley gets all the screen time, and Alan got a lot of screen time. So, after, like, before Tribal Council, everyone is basically trying to pick between Katrina and Chrissy, and so we sort of have, like, 3 people on the chopping block, maybe 4 if you count Alan, but people on the trap are like, it's between Chrissy, Katrina, Alan, and Ashley. And so I was like, wow, lots of people on the chopping block. But I don't know, just Katrina going home was just so very anticlimactic because we literally didn't hear her talk the entire season episode. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like it was kind of like, oh, one of the people went home. Like, oh no, my favorite person went home. And I feel like the latter makes for better television.
Yeah, like Katrina literally not getting any screen time. I sort of made the whole, I guess, like premiere episode, like, it's like meh. I mean, and usually I guess first boots aren't like super, super crazy unless it's like a game changer season. But I don't know. I feel like just in general, like Katrina not getting any screen time and then getting voted out, it's sort of like, okay, like, fine, we didn't really know much about you anyway. And I feel like, yeah, so that's that, I feel like. But Chrissy not playing the super immunity idol, I think that's like the only interesting thing that really happened at Tribal Council, because if she did play the idol, Ashley would have went home. But I feel like I'm glad Chrissy didn't play it because I feel like it's better for her gameplay. Like, after 3 days, so many things can change. But if you, like, pull out this super secret advantage and get, like, someone like Ashley out, who is technically in the majority alliance right now, that just, like, sort of fucks you over in a sense, because everyone's like, oh, she's playing the game, she's sneaky, and she has this advantage. Like, what else does she have? But I feel like Chrissy playing it cool, not playing it for Katrina, but I feel like I think it's good for her in the long run, because now I think Chrissy can, like, get in the fold with other people, and, like, obviously things do change, so, like, I think it's good. And if Chrissy played it for herself, that would be better, like, for her, since she'd be in the game. But I feel like her not playing it for Katrina was a good move.
Yeah, I feel like playing an idol for someone else can always get, like, sketchy.
Yeah, especially on the first vote when, like, you barely know these people after 3 days, and, like, I feel like if the majority of the tribe wants one person out, and technically you're in the alliance with the person, so you can't really vote for them, like, just go with the majority of the tribe. As long as it's not you, things change tomorrow. Like, you don't really want to be aligned from the first day with Katrina if she was already #1 target, I feel like. So I think Chrissy's on to bigger and better things. She's moving on up. And I feel like if she did save Katrina, she would be stuck with Katrina, like, a longer time, I guess, and have to be forced to be in alliance with her. And just, like, I feel like you need to go with the flow of the game. If people want someone out and, like, it's the first day, like, don't try to ruin things and try to save someone because things change, basically.
Yeah, I feel like that's pretty solid. Like, it's too early to start thinking about disrupting the status quo just because the status quo hasn't been established yet.
Yeah, I agree. So Katrina went home. I mean, the episode was super short. I didn't know it was 40 minutes going into it, so I was like, wow, we're already at immunity challenge. I thought we'd get more, like, screen time of, like, all the people and everything like that. And I feel like because it wasn't 90 minutes and we didn't see a lot of, like, tribe dynamics, maybe that's why Katrina didn't get a lot of airtime and then was voted off.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where they want to focus on, like, on building the characters that are going to stay around for longer than just one episode.
Yeah. And so, I don't know, I think that's a flaw with Survivor, because then you can sort of see who's going home based on, like, edit and Edgic, I guess. But Edgic confuses the hell out of me, so we're not gonna watch that. But, like, yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for what this season has to offer. Yeah, I think I have 2 midterms next week, but I really want to do like a Towers of Hanoi to like Survivor Immunity Challenge tutorial video. So in the South Pacific, Ozzy and Coach did this like puzzle challenge, and we had to do it for a project in computer science. And so I feel like it'd be a really cool like thing to teach you all. So maybe in the future that will be happening. But yeah, I think listen, I will see you guys in the second episode podcast.
Yeah, hopefully there's more strategy to discuss because I felt like this was more just like, this is what happened than like actual strategic talk. But hopefully we'll have more for you guys. I'm not going to be watching the episode on time this week because I have a test. Rip me. But yeah, we'll see when we can get out that Towers of Hanoi video, and we're really excited to keep on talking about Survivor with you guys. So we'll see you next week.
Yay!
Bye.